All right, beautiful people. Welcome to what we are about to call episode 57 of the Athletic Philosopher Podcast. We've gotten so many of these episodes, we're starting to recycle guests. Maybe that means I'm running out of ideas, or which I think is most accurate, we're just having such good conversations on the podcast that we need to revisit some of the excellent guests. And I'm very excited for the conversation I'm about to have today with one of my favorite people in the entire world. Certainly like top 3 in the fitness world, probably like top 5 in the world outside of the people who live in my house. Mr. Michael Donatelli. Before we get into the topic of today's conversation, both Mike and I are deep in the world of online fitness coaching. We have different approaches, but if you're listening and want to get in contact with either of us to, explore what we can help you with in terms of training, in terms of mindset, and in terms of transferring the lessons from training into your mindset so that you can go out and crush life the way we help you set up your fitness so that you can crush those. Then check out the show notes. I'll have links for myself and I'll have links for the beautiful Mr. Donatelli here. So now with that stuff out of the way, I would like to welcome Mr. Donatelli back to the podcast. Welcome, sir.
What's up, Life Professor? It's so good to be back on the show. Oh, it's an honor. I love chatting with you. Like I said, I would just sign up to hop on a random call, but the fact that we get to record it and maybe help some other people, even better. So I'm grateful to be here, man. Exciting time of life, exciting things coming up, and I'm pumped to chat about it.
Yeah. And I reached out with a specific request about what we could talk about. Last time you were on the pod, we just sort of chopped it up on our general training philosophies and how we view, we'll call like the fun element in sport and how crucial it is for consistency, making gains, but then also being able to extract out some deeper truths through the training. And you've been on quite the fitness journey in the past little bit. Coming up on almost 2.5 years. And that's why I wanted to invite you on, because you have a particular history in sport. You know, you were a wrestler, you were a power lifter, and you had great success in those arenas. But I remember, what was it, June the 6th, 2023, the very first time we actually got to meet in person, and it was to run a 50-kilometer race on the Monon Trail in Indianapolis. And I remember, it was you, it was me, it was Dylan, it was Zach, it was Ryan, like the OG gang right here. And we were all just like shuffling through and talking with each other. And you and I, we got next to each other, and you came over and you said, I think I know what my next big goal is in fitness. I said, oh, lay it on me, man. Lay it on me. He said, I want to try to qualify for the Boston Marathon, which means I got to run a sub-3 marathon. Do you remember what my immediate reaction to that goal was?
It was something along the line. I think you started running in circles around me because you were also way faster and way better shape. So we were 10 miles into a 50K, and I was like, I got to preserve my energy. And you just started going. And no, it was awesome. And it's so wild that the goal really, was birthed in that moment, because I would say conservatively, 90% of my training for this goal has come on the Monon. So that's a cool little, just like where it was born is where I'm doing the work. But yeah, I remember that day very well. It's crazy to think about how much has happened since then in my own life and fitness. And, I've gone on a lot of different paths with it and through different highs and lows for sure. And I think that's why it's so special to then be, about 11 days away from my next shot at it. So it's exciting.
Yeah. This is great. And I remember my immediate reaction was something like, that's the perfect goal. Like that is the perfect goal, and you're going to love the journey because as someone who used to wrestle, that idea of like intensity and like almost like war with yourself in order to get in, you know, preparation for war against your opponent. What else is fast marathon running other than like an extended and prolonged war against yourself? And that's why I wanted to talk to you. You just mentioned how wonderful this journey has been for you in terms of ups and downs and pointing you off into new directions. And that's really what I wanted to talk about today. Not so much like the technical, how did you build yourself into a runner who, you know, when you went out and you did a marathon late last year, what'd you run? 307?
That was this year. So yeah,
That
it
was
was
this year.
March.
My apologies.
March.
It was in
March of
March.
this
Yeah.
year, I ran 307. Late last year, I ran 331.
331. Yeah. And that was a bonk. You bonked your way to 331.
Big old bonk to 331.
What amazing! What an amazing accomplishment to be able to bonk your way to 331 in your first real go at a marathon.
You know,
I
we're
also
gonna
just
hope that doesn't happen again. But hey, if it does, I learned a lot from it. So
yeah. We'll get into that. So I'm sure throughout our conversation you're gonna pepper us with some really good lessons on how you can train yourself to become not just like a fast marathon runner, but a fast runner and someone who really enjoys training like as a runner, which is something you'd never been previously. But ultimately, I'm very interested in the ways in which this training has changed you, has solidified certain things inside of you. I'm interested in the personal transformation. I'm interested in the personal journey that you've gone on in the past, whatever, 20 some odd months of determining to run fast in a marathon, which, you know, I really just define as psychological warfare against yourself. Like that's such a
it's a
cool goal. That's
great
such a cool
way.
goal. So that's what we're after.
Yeah, I love that, and I kind of figured that was going to be the case. I'm like, Jordan's not going to ask me about the ins and outs of my workouts. He's going to ask me with the bigger lessons, and that's why I love chatting with you because honestly, it is cool to talk about the intricate details of training, but that's not why I do it. Honestly, like I didn't enjoy this journey to this point from analyzing the details, from perfecting the workouts, from changing training strategy. I've enjoyed it because of what it's done to my life and all that it's given me and the bigger focus that it's allowed me to have in my training. And so I think that's kind of where I can start is just going back to when I originally had the goal. And what's funny is it had the goal itself has kind of evolved because originally it was to qualify for the Boston Marathon. Well, in the last pretty much since I started training for this, the qualification standards for the Boston Marathon have absolutely skyrocketed, which I think is a phenomenal thing. And that's a topic that we can cover, but I think it's a great thing. But now, in order to even qualify, I need to run a 255 marathon more realistically with the drop downs, probably closer to a 250 marathon, which is great. And again, like the cool thing about all of this and my experience with training for a fast marathon has been this is what I want to continue to do. This has given me an avenue in fitness that I haven't had since wrestling. See, when I got out of wrestling, I knew I needed to have some sort of competitive outlet. And powerlifting was the readily available one because I was really deep into strength training while I was still in wrestling. Like I was working with my strength conditioning coach to help me program, learn how to program. I was obsessed with chasing bigger numbers. Like lifting was the passion, lifting was the fire. And so I ran with it. And so I naturally, you know, hired our good friend Zach Hummel to get me as strong as possible. Shout out him. He's the goat of strength and fitness. But he got me, to winning powerlifting comps, eventually into strongman comps. And I loved it. It was amazing. But all of this time I was searching. And part of the reason I got into strongman was because powerlifting didn't give me the same fix that wrestling had. And wrestling is a very unique sport because although it's so short and so explosive, I always say like it really is much more in line with what I've learned out of marathon training than anything that strength could ever given me. And it was because it was not about the 6 minutes that I was on the mat that mattered. It was the long nights before of where I was cutting weight. It was the whole week leading up to the big weight cut where I was dialed in with my training, having to understand what my calorie intake was, understanding how my recovery was changing. Like it was all consuming in a really both positive and negative way, depending on what areas I put more energy into. But that was something that I just never got in strength sports because there was always this piece of me where it was like, yeah, like this is like hard workouts. Yeah, I'm pushing weight, but it wasn't to the point where I was like unlocking that euphoria that I got like when I had gotten done with like a hard wrestling practice or even like the flow state. Like it's crazy to think about it. And I don't think in the moment when I was wrestling, I recognized it for what it was. But this, when any competitor probably knows this, but when you're in the middle of a wrestling match and I would just get like this tunnel vision and like, you were just so in flow that like the outside surroundings would just kind of, close, kind of go away. And you would just be you and your opponent, and you were doing the dance, right? You were locked in. You were anticipating the next move, and I didn't know this until I lost it and I stopped wrestling. That was what I was chasing and in my fitness because it was putting together, it's like all this hard work culminating then in that perfect wrestling match moment where you are just fully immersed in what you are doing. And I never got that in strength. And I think it was a combination of just, the brute force um, that lifting really is. It's really very one dimensional in that sense. Whereas wrestling was brute force, it was endurance, was finesse, it was agility, it was all of these aspects of physical wellness and fitness that went into the sport and that led to that, those perfect moments. And I never got that in strength. And so then, you get into endurance and tried Ironmans, triathlons, and everything. And it wasn't until I set that goal and I started training for the sub 3 that I realized like, oh, this is what I was searching for. This like going into a hard workout, I'm unsure of whether or not you can do it, getting in the moment, doing it, seeing, holy crap, I am actually doing this, then having that doubt all come in, and then you push through. It was this unlock that, again, I hadn't had since I was competing in wrestling. And that then set the tone for the next 2.5 years of my life that I could focus, up until this moment to build my fitness, build my running ability, and kind of walk me down that path or run me down that path that I've been on.
That's so cool. I'm a firm believer in two things that you sort of spoke to in that response. One is that the people who stick with fitness and exercise and who truly love the training, they're not necessarily addicted to the motion. They're addicted to the feeling of self-conquering. Like that's what we love the most. We love the self-conquering. And whatever activity allows us to most viscerally feel that in a way that's sort of like resonant with our dispositions or our personalities or like our natural inclination, like those are the things that are going to light us on fire and that's going to keep us coming back. Certainly wrestling is a really great example of self-conquering when it comes to fear, when it comes to belief. And I think running parallels that quite nicely. So it makes sense to me. But there's also a second component, which is different motions or different motion patterns with our bodies speak to different virtues, right? They speak to different character components within ourselves. And there is something about strength that is appealing in terms of like that brute force and that intense focus and concentration that's, all encompassing for 5 to 10 seconds. But it's limited. It's limited. And when thinking broadly about what most people want to get out of that feeling of self-conquering, it's got to resemble a little bit more of my life, like, and something like a running race of all distances, I think better maps onto the ways in which we experience the ups and downs of life. And so the journeys become fulfilling and meaningful in, I believe, deeper ways for most people. That's not to say every single person needs to become a runner in order to get the deepest value of sport. I just think there is a natural fluidity between the discipline and the way that my life maps out. And I wonder if that's also another component of the past 2.5 years that has stuck out to you upon reflection, as you prepare to try to take down this big physical goal for the third time.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head. You need something that ties into a deeper sense of self, sense of accomplishment. And again, like I will always have a passion for strength, and I'm so grateful for my time in the strength sports. But even still, like even today, like I don't get that little high. Like for me, it's just much more surface level, which is great. Like I think so. Like this is something that I know we've talked about in the past. Like one of the best ways I think, to get into fitness is to actually start with a surface level goal. To start with something like, hey, I want my sleeves on my shirt to be a little bit tighter. I want to feel a little bit more jacked in how I look. And you can chase that, you can get great results. And I think ultimately then that keeps people in fitness enough for them to see, oh, there's a deeper level here now that I want to kind of go after, and I now need to find out what that is and explore it more. But I think the surface level, so how I look at my last, my fitness journey from my time that I was done wrestling is it really was, probably 6 years of like really enjoying that surface level, going after just, the I want the strength numbers, and then getting into endurance. And specifically though, like I don't even say getting into endurance. It wasn't until I got the sub 3 goal that I found something that like I have it's changed my life and how I view fitness and how I view what I want to do, how I like my outlets to just dealing with stress and the whatever's going on in life. You know, I mean, so much of like my social life is wrapped up in running now too. Like I have met so many people in the indie area. I mean, heck, I got a public speaking opportunity, through someone that saw me running downtown Indianapolis. And like, it's just unlocked so much for me that, again, I don't think I would have ever gotten if I just, you know, tried different things in endurance. So I think it's important to stay patient. I think it's easy to want to say, "Oh, I just need to like this goal will be the thing." Well, for me, I did a full Ironman. I actually did two full Ironmans and two 70.3s before I ever and a 50K before I really found my lane in endurance that I was like, "No, this is it." And when I say I've been like completely just hooked by it, it's really an understatement.
Yeah. I definitely want to return to that idea of this whole training practice has really like reoriented the priorities and the hierarchy of values that you live your life by. To me, that's incredible, and it shows the depth that a physical practice can really impact your life when you do it correctly and you play from your heart, which clearly you're not able to do any other way. But part of what I want people to appreciate from this podcast is exactly what you just mentioned, which is like experimentation, creativity, and patience in finding the thing that like really lights you up, like that really lights you up. And my fitness story is a little bit different, but I was just someone who was chasing consistency. Like I was a sporty kid. I played soccer growing up. I got brutally injured my last 2 years, so I was kind of dejected and demoralized on high level competition. I switched into music, which is a different kind of battle. as you could say.
Totally.
But I always knew that I wanted to turn to fitness, and for me that looked like probably a dozen false starts. 2 weeks of doing this, 3 weeks of doing that, 5 weeks here, but nothing ever stuck. Until and I don't think this is superficial, but it's similar to your point as sometimes what you need in order to get started is just something very simple and something very like tangible and present. So for me, that was like fun. I just want to do things that I enjoy. So that led me to swimming in the pool, which I loved, and eventually moved me into the forest for trail running when I started to run. And one of my friends just said, "Hey, why don't you go out to this provincial park and start running?" And so it was for me similar, like a 6 month to a year process of just slowly iterating, slowly experimenting, having a couple missteps here and there, but then ultimately through just patience and determination, finding what you love. So I would love for you to just go through like a little bit of why you moved into endurance out of lifting, and why those other styles of endurance didn't really stick with you. And then we'll be able to zero in a little bit more specifically on this fast running, on this fast
Yeah,
training.
totally. So, uh, the well, to put it simply, the reason I got into endurance was because, again, our good friend Zach Hummel was like, "Hey, do you want to do an Ironman?" And I am someone that I get FOMO from my friends. I will 100% give in to peer pressure. I'm okay with admitting it. Um, and so I'm like, yeah, if all my friends are gonna do an Ironman, I'm not gonna miss out on doing an Ironman. And so said, screw it, let's do it. Trained for 8 months, did the Ironman, had so much fun. It was great. Looking back on, I basically did over from 2022, 2023. I did the two Ironmans, the two 70.3s, and the 50K in that 2 year span. And the reason that it didn't stick for me, I think, was it was a little bit too unstructured and it didn't tap into the intensity at which wrestling really hit me. Like I've always been someone, even before wrestling, like I used to do hit workouts with my dad in the basement. I don't know if you ever remember Insanity, the old like videotapes. Yeah, yeah, yeah. You put them on, you do a 30, 40 minute. They're hard workouts. They're super hard.
Yeah.
And even in college, I coached F45 group fitness classes. I loved high intensity stuff. And the way that we tackled the Ironmans, and again, this is not like I'm sure someone out there like triathlon's the thing that gets them into it, but because we were going after the ultra distance, the far stuff, the only way to really do that and get through it, especially as a beginner, is to do it very slow and just you kind of just say, hey, I'm gonna be in a mental battle with myself physically, like, yeah, my body's going to hurt, but it's really just, can I keep moving forward when I'm tired and I don't want to? And that's its own type of mental warfare. That's its own type of physical endurance. And it was amazing. I loved it in its own way, but it didn't quite hit that itch. And so I remember leading up to that 50K. It was the first before I even had the like officially settled on qualifying for Boston, going sub 3. I had started experimenting more with running, and I was kind of in this in between zone of like, what am I training for? Not sure, but I know I've got the 50K, so I need to be running more. And I remember like doing my first actual running workout because all this before, like I would run, bike, swim. There was no structure. It was pretty much all zone 2, zone 1. Just hey, I got to get a 5 hour bike in. I'm gonna go ride my bike for 5 hours. There's no structure to it. And when I did my first like interval run workout, I did like a fartlek, and it was like I remember getting like halfway through an interval, and I'm like, I am dying. Like this is running fast is hard, and then I have to keep doing this, and I have to keep doing this, and I got done with it, and it was like, oh yeah, I haven't felt that in a while. Like doing this, like running fast, it was just this like euphoric moment because it was so hard, but I just I got that tick of like, oh, what was that? Why did that impact me that way? And so then it was running was the thing. I'm like, okay, like I know it's not going to be a fast triathlon because at the time I didn't really like biking, still not really huge biker. We're going to change that, but wasn't wasn't huge swimming. So I'm like, okay, running's the thing. I'm like, okay, well, and at this time too, right? We did the 50K. This was when all of my friends were like Zach's like, I want to do a 100 miler, like people are like going ultra because it was like, I think the way we tackled the Ironmans was that's mentality continued on, right? It was like, hey, let's see how far we can go. And so I just remember being like, yeah, that does interest me. I want to do that one day, but running fast. Let me see what's there. So then I was like, okay, well, what's the epitome of like running fast? And I thought about like setting a 5K time or a 10K, but because I had done the Ironman distance and like, just been already into ultra endurance sports, I was like, it can't for me to be feel like there's glory in it. It needs to be longer. And so to me, like the marathon was like the perfect compromise between the two because it was a long like 26 miles. There's no way about it. It's a long way, right? And, but I could also run it fast or try to run it fast. And so it was like this perfect blend of where I had been and where I wanted to go, and then saying, okay, well, what's the goal that lines that? And again, this is where how my brain works. I could have set I think my fastest marathon at that time in an Ironman had been like 4 hours and 45 minutes or something like that. It's like I could have set a 4 hour marathon goal. I could have set a 3:30 marathon goal. But again, it was this mystique around Boston. This idea of like I had heard of people, like every marathon runner that I had ever met, that was the ultimate race. That was the goal. And so it was like, well, if we're gonna do it, just do it. Go for it. See what happens. And so that's kind of how I ultimately landed on the sub 3 goal and why I feel the other endurance avenues hadn't been that path that I needed to follow.
Yeah. Yeah, there's that intensity itch. A little context on that sort of endurance journey because we're all kind of wrapped up in that together. Um, you guys were on something that's called the B team, right?
Mm-hmm.
When it came to your Iron Man. Do you remember the slogan so you can share it with people?
Oh, yes. So the BT motto was, "We won't be first, we might be last, but we're not going to quit." That
Yeah,
was
yeah,
the
yeah.
BT motto.
Which is great.
It's great. It's
That-
awesome.
it's an excellent motto in order to utilize competitions to extract out lessons that aren't necessarily tied to how we perform in the competitions. But you mentioned at the beginning, you're a pretty high level athlete, like winning powerlifting meets, like high level wrestler, and you're still a young guy, like you're still in your 20s, so you are still in your like athletic prime. As somebody like me, I'm still kind of trying to hold on to the glory days in a sense, but you're like right in there. So what I hear from your message, and I wonder if you've ever thought about it this way, is like you kind of said B team is cool and B team will always be there, but I need A team. I need to be on an A team. I need to be on an A team, and I need to be going towards the highest echelons of whatever training discipline or style that I'm going to be in if it's going to mean something to me.
Yeah.
Yeah.
100%. It was, I needed I mean, the moment you put a time goal out there, it's the moment that it requires a level of excellence that just completing doesn't require. And it's what I needed in order to push myself and not feel like I was just coasting. And that was just the journey that I was on. And so sub 3 was the goal. And well, the cool thing about it for me was it's it hasn't gone anywhere near to like what I planned it would be. I mean, I think I originally, obviously it's been over a year since I thought I would have already completed it, which is great. Like I said it back in 2023. I had planned to accomplish it in the fall of 2024, and I haven't done it. And so that to me is actually confirmation that it was the goal I needed to do because if it wasn't, I likely would have just the moment it didn't go right, I would have said, "All right, change it up. Let's go to the next thing." Rather than it has been like, "No, I did that and I had to like I need to get this." And it's been really cool to just see, you know, that transformation in me and being like, "No, this is just something that you're always going to love fast running now." And it's going to be a part of your training. Like, I was talking to someone um last week who was asking me about how my training block had gone and how I'm feeling going into Chicago. And I'm like, I've just had so much fun. They're like, what are you gonna do after? Well, I'm probably gonna keep a very similar training structure because I've had so much fun. I've just loved this training block. Like really up until the last like my taper. It's like it was great. I hit taper. I'm like, okay, I'm ready to taper. I'm ready. My body. But I've been doing 60+ mile weeks for the last, 8 weeks. Like I'm ready to kind of come back down. Like I love the structure, I love the flow, and I've had so much fun in this prep that it was like, I'm gonna run the race and I'm gonna give it everything I have out there to see what I can do. Whether I crush the goal, whether it crushes me, I will know that it was the most fun I've had, you know, in a training block. And that to me is a win in itself.
Yeah, definitely. It's a massive win. And the thing that I want just to highlight here for people that are listening is this deep sense of internal knowing, right? It's like through the ways in which we move our body, we get to understand what we value, what we prioritize, and what means something to us. And then we should listen to that and respond and respect that signal and allow it to aim us, even if it's this brand new venture or this. You probably like when you were doing strength work and powerlifting, you made fun of runners. You made fun of
Oh yeah.
marathon runners.
Oh, you know what's funny? I made fun of marathon runners when I was in endurance. Dude, I when I was training for my first Ironman, when I did the first 3 triathlons, so an Ironman, a half Ironman, and another full Ironman, I jokingly told people, and it wasn't really a joke. I'm like, I'm never running a marathon. Why would I? I've done Ironmans, I have marathons. I've done a 50K, so I just never run a marathon. Like I said that, and now I'm saying the marathon is like my favorite distance to run. This is awesome. I want to keep
Yeah, yeah,
going
yeah.
after it.
Yeah.
Hey,
You don't necessarily need to know what the thing is. You just need to know the components that eventually are going to build the thing, right? It's like I like intensity. I like the self-conquering. I like something that's not over immediately or takes forever to get over with,
yeah,
right? Like through
the middle ground.
experimentate. Yeah, but it's
Yeah.
like, but it's exactly right. It's through this experimentation and creativity and fun and peer pressure, right? You're going about it in a way that you're picking up on these deeper signals inside of yourself and you're allowing those things to orient the next step. And by taking a continuous series of next steps with that aiming you, like the way you now talk about your training, like that's the dream. The dream is I love the training so much I'm actually kind of happy sometimes if I don't hit the goal because that means I just get to do the training some more. I just get to keep doing the training.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. It's been great. And yeah, I just never. It's so funny every time. Like every time especially I think now that I'm in taper, you do a lot more reflecting because you don't have as much mental energy to spend on your actual training because you're training less, and so it's just a lot of reflecting and I just once a day just find myself just chuckling because I'm like, dude, if you would have told me 4 years ago that I'm like obsessed with marathon running, I'd be like, who is this guy? But it's what's happened, and it for me it was finding that you know mesh of intensity and endurance, and that's where I landed on.
Yeah. That's wonderful. I wonder if now is a good time to just like give me some base statistics here in terms of like when you left strength, what were you putting up when you started running? What were you
Yeah.
putting up? Just to give
So
people a sense of how much of a non-runner you were and how much of a runner you've now become throughout the
yeah.
process.
So when I was, I was actually looking at this. I have, so when I left strength, I could like the last strongman competition, I farmer carried 640 pounds. So that's 320 pounds of hand that I walked 25 feet with. I picked
That
up and
video is
walked the
savage,
Atlas
by the way.
thing
That video is so savage of you doing that.
with Dan Barnett. Shout out. He took that
Yeah,
video.
let's go,
But
Dan.
yeah, so I was in that. I was log pressing to, I think the competition was 215. I hit like 10 reps. Um, I could bench 405. I was strong. I was real strong. I was real strong. And I was actually looking, and I didn't even have a Garmin watch when I started endurance. So I used my phone. I had mapped my run. And I think I went out and did like an 8 mile run, and it was like 11:30s maybe. And my heart rate was like 170. Like it was not good. I remember the run because I had to run it around my campus. I was at NC State. I was still in college, and I was running, and I was just like dying on my phone. Like it was crazy. And yeah, I did that, and that was kind of where I started my endurance journey. I couldn't swim for shit. I would just sink, and then and now well, if all goes to plan on Sunday, I'll be running a 26.2 miles at a 6:52 pace or better. Um, so, yeah, we've come a long way.
Incredible. It's just absolutely incredible to just think about the absolute progress that one can make with dedication, focus, and consistency. And what powers all of that for you? Again, if you haven't figured it out by listening to this guy, it's like he just loves it. He loves all of it. He loves every single element um, about the training. So maybe now tell me about how you fell in love with fast
Mm,
running. Like, is there a
yeah.
workout that you remember? Was it being able to look down on the watch to see certain figures and just think that didn't feel as hard as it should? Like how did you go from this is a goal I'd like to pursue to just like literally like head over heels
Uh-huh.
infatuated with with
It,
this
it was
style of
some
training and this style of running?
Yeah, and it was something that I can't pinpoint truthfully like one workout. I think it was something that evolved over time. It was but it was this process of like just it was such a easy way for me to see my progress, and like there's something that just hitting a faster pace what can like week over week or month over month, like that just did to me that you know and it wasn't even, I won't even say that, I won't say it was hitting a faster pace. It was like the top pace. It was being able to move faster and making it feel easier. That really it was like, and so actually, if I want to say, if I had to say how I think I ended up falling in love with this style of training, it was seeing myself become a better runner. That was like it was that which unlocked something within me rather than just like the paces. Because even early on, I mean, it wasn't like I was running fast. And like I could do, like I remember even when I first started, when I was doing that 8 mile stuff, I remember we did a mile challenge, and I could run a sub 6 mile. Like I could just grunt it out. It didn't feel great. I felt terrible. But like, so it wasn't that the pace I was running, because I could always run sevens. It was just the the effort at which it took to run those paces that was like, oh, I feel like I'm floating now. Like I feel like I'm doing this with less effort, and that was really cool for me to just experience. And then as I started becoming a better runner, and I bought into the process, and I saw my paces getting faster, and those paces felt a little bit easier. Then when I tied in the social component for me, that was like the thing that solidified it for me. It was the thing that all of a sudden I was, hey, now I can run fast, but I can also run with friends, and then I can go easy and I can go. And so it was like unlocked different paces. I unlocked different effort levels. I had unlocked different types of runs. It was like this whole world of running where before running was okay, go out and suffer or go out for a shuffle at 11-minute paces and keep your heart rate low. And this is why little tangible tip for anyone that wants to become a better runner is like, yes, you need to do the zone 2 stuff, but if that's all you do, I don't believe you're ever going to actually truly enjoy running. And so being able to say, hey, one of my runs is a run walk on a trail. One of my runs, I'm doing some easy intervals. One of the runs, I go to the track and I do some fast repeats. Like that to me, understanding that running can be this living, dynamic, breathing entity rather than just like I just go out and slog through 11-minute miles. That helped me fall in love with it much faster. So now that it's like I go and run, but it doesn't get old because I have a million different types of runs and different intentions in which I'm getting out of it. So that was really fun.
Yeah, I love your answer because it's a great illustration and example of what happens when you're fully inside of the activity. It's like you fall in through this like narrow opening and then you go through the door and then it's like this open expanse of possibility on the other side once you gain a little bit of competence and proficiency. And this is literally how skill acquisition works in every single activity, in any hobby. If you've played a musical instrument, right? Like to me, it's very similar to the way in which I learned guitar, which was like 8 months of just my fingers they hurt, and everything that I play on this thing sounds like crap. And it hurts and it sounds bad until just like one day, all of a sudden, you're making a chord and your fingers don't hurt and you do the strings. You're like, well, that sounds good. Like, oh, I kind of see where this can take me now. In sports, they're just so powerful because as you mentioned, you feel it. You feel it in your body. It's like as you learn where to put your feet and where your shoulders have to go and the way in which you have to breathe, you slowly are piecing together, oh, this is how the activity works. And then you have the potential to really just lose yourself within that open expanse. So that's a beautiful story, and that's a beautiful way to frame it in terms of I just began to feel like a runner, and the more I felt like a runner, the more I enjoyed running, and then the more you run, the more you feel. And now you're in a positive feedback loop where even a negative outcome or a negative result, you're like, okay, but that means I just get to go back and try it again, which is great.
Yeah, I mean, I view
So,
it like I view my week. It's so funny. Like, I have 6 runs that I run across five days is basically what I've kind of solidified because I also like having time away from running. I'm not like I find that if I run every day, I don't like running as much. So now though, across those 6 runs, like I know that oh hey, my Tuesday run is a speed workout, and so I'm usually doing threshold intervals or whatever. But then I know that my Wednesday, my Wednesday run is always a social run because I go to a run club, and so I know that like that social run is a much different easy run. Even though it's an easy run, it's different than my Monday easy run because my Monday easy run that's like my reflective run. Like that's where I'm just starting the week. I'm feeling good. It's always early in the morning. It's always solo. I'm just kind of chilling, thinking about the weekend. But then that easy run is different from my Friday easy run, which my Friday easy run is like all about restraint because now all of a sudden I know, hey, Saturday I've got a big workout. I've got to go long. So I can't overcook myself. And so I think this and I don't know if you can immediately frame this because I think this has to come from just you becoming a more proficient runner or really any activity. But this was another unlock for me and how I found myself just enjoying this activity was saying, hey, I can frame these different runs And it's like, it gives me variety. And that's why I'm such a big believer of like, go run with people, but also run by yourself, but also run fast, but also run slow. And when you run slow, run in different environments. All of a sudden, not only are you becoming a more balanced athlete, but now this activity just became a hell of a lot more dynamic, and it's way more of a fun thing to experience.
Yeah, yeah. Ru- Running particularly is like limitless in the ways in which you can practice it, and there's endless runway for you to compete in too,
Yeah,
which I think is very important when we're trying to think about athletics as an orienting activity, which is where we're going to end off this discussion. Um, but competition, that's where we get to proclaim ourselves. That's where we get to show the work that we've been doing in the training. And maybe now's a good time to talk about how important it is to reach out and ask for help, because you have not been doing this alone. Like, you have someone who you've been working with for this entire 2+ year journey in terms of a running coach. So maybe speak to the importance of asking for help and getting guidance, and how that can take whatever it is you're doing, whether it's in sport or I'm just trying to get a little bit better in this because I care about it. Like, how important is it to have a coach and have the right coach? And I know who your
it's
coach is,
crucial.
and he is
I
the
mean, it's
he is the right
everything.
coach.
It's everything. I mean, shout out to our guy Ryan Dryer. I would not be here. I mean, I would probably still be powerlifting and strongman without Ryan, honestly. Um, and it was you have to, whenever you're going after something unknown, like if you try to do it alone, the likelihood that you just fall off is so great. It's so great because there's no accountability, but then there's also just no support and there's no belief. Like, I can't tell you the amount of times leading up to races where I'm like doubting myself and I'm like, I don't know if I can do this. And like, then you hop on a call and Ryan's just pouring belief into me and saying, dude, look at the data, looking back, look at these checkpoints, and then also like leaning into what are your strengths, like, like all of these things show, but then also just remind yourself who you are and that you can go and do this. And so that support, that guidance, not only is it, I think, necessary to reach your ultimate potential, but also it makes the process again more fun. Like, so much of life as an adult is on your own. Even if you've got, great friends, even if you've got, good um good support, good family, like you still have to walk a lot of this stuff alone, especially with fitness, because no one can do the work for you. So having someone in your life specifically tied to fitness to make the journey not feel so isolating, I think is one of the most important things that a person can do.
Yeah, it's a lot of. I mean, you're doing 20-mile long runs on the weekend. We need support, and we need somebody to guide us, and then we also need like teammates and friends, people who go on the journey with us as
Mm,
well, when it
totally.
comes to competing.
Yeah,
So
and
again, just to
I'm gonna famously plug Tribal because I don't know if you will, but I will. I mean, I don't think you're gonna find a
please.
better. I don't know if you're gonna find a better community, guys. And I'm not even someone that's super active in like the chats and stuff, but like, someone that observes it as afar. And also, I will say the reason I'm not as active is because I am blessed to be in a place where I have a such like a deep foundation in person. I live in Metro Indy. There are a million different run clubs. Pretty much 90% of my friends are training partners of mine. Like, that's like how we socialize. Like, this afternoon I'm going to go on a run with four of my friends and we're going to probably run for an hour and then we'll hang out afterwards and just talk life and talk training, and so I recognize though that if you like that I am in the minority of what that's actually available to. And so and I think you will not find a better replication of that online than in Tribal. And so that is my shameless plug for Tribal, because if you're someone like, if I didn't have my in-person community, I guarantee like Tribal would be the thing that I lean on the most. And I think the reality of people that live busy lives, that have kids, that want to go after big fitness goals, but again, it's just such an isolating thing. You need those teammates because it makes the process more fun. You learn from one another, you support one another, and then you go show up on racing. Let me tell you, I've got I think 15 people I know that are running the Chicago Marathon. I'm staying with 3 friends before the race. It's gonna be a freaking party the entire weekend. Like I am just so I'm excited to run. I'm excited to let it rip in Chicago, but I'm also just excited to hang out with my friends. And I know that you get the same like through the team races that you guys do through the events that like you get that same excitement and it's like, "Oh yeah, we're going to go run a race, but we're also going to just hang out and vibe out." And that is so important. I think one of the biggest misses that people make through life is not connecting social with fitness. I think it's one of
Yeah,
the best things you can do as an adult.
for sure. And especially for those of us that, grew up in a world of sports. Like when we were teenagers and just young kids coming into our teenage years, it's like, what were we doing? Was on 2 different sports teams, practicing like 3-4 times a week, playing 2 to 3 games a week. And you're on a team and you're with people and you're growing together and you're building together and you have the highs and the lows. And, coach yells at you and he yells at, and now it's everybody's in trouble, or, he's praising everybody. Um, you go on your travel tournaments, right? And you're staying in the hotels, and there's just this orientation, right? I'll just come back to this word. It's like sports are these deeply orienting activities, and not everybody is directed into sports, right? In terms of, these are the things that I love to do. These are the things that like bring out the best in me. But there's a lot of us that is exactly the case, where that is where we learned about ourselves. That's where we learned about, what we can be to other people, what we can become in the right environment, with the right supports. So it's like, if you were one of those people, if you were one of those sporty kids who's not a sporty adult in terms of playing, but you say you love sports and you probably watch like 20 hours of sports a week and you're all up in the blog posts and, we
Yep.
all know that kind of a person. The signal is to come back to the playing. The signal is to come back into the training and competing that matters and means something, and having a coach to guide you and teammates or friends who are on that journey with you. I mean, I think it's everything. And I just think about something just to go back to the idea of like something that's simple. I think one of the things that's likely really helped you with the running is your little ritual that you do after every single run, which you videotape and that you share with the world, right? You want to
For
tell
sure.
the people what that is?
Every,
Yeah,
every run. So I'm going to have a sick compilation at the end of this year because I started it. Actually, you know what's funny? I didn't realize this until this moment. I started
let's
it
go.
after my blow up in the marathon, and the first blow up
Oh,
sub 3.
now we're cooking. Now we're really
I think
cooking. Now we're really cooking here.
yeah, I think I shared this. Maybe I shared this in the last time. I don't know, but that blow up for me was so important. I won't go too far into it, but I will say I lost. Like we're talking about all this fun, and like after that, I lost a little bit of like not the fun, but it really forced me to like rethink. Okay, hey, are you going after this goal so hard that it's taking the enjoyment and why you're actually like doing this in the first place? Like let's reframe the perspective. And so for my second marathon build that I did during the dead of winter, which prepping for a marathon in the winter, a whole different beast. It is
Yes,
hard.
sir.
And like running fast is hard alone, but then in the cold, as you know, it's a different type of beast. So I started doing this, and I will get to the ritual now. After every run, I do a heel click. And that's just jumping up in the air, clicking my heels together. And I don't necessarily remember what, like, the original reason. It was just like, oh, like, people like expect to have some deep reasoning for how I do it. I'm like, no, I pretty much do it because it's fun. And I think it's a little silly. And in a way, the deep meaning then to me is don't take this so deep. It's a run. And so like what it ended up turning into was like I would have terrible runs like TMI, but like 3 weeks ago I had to pull off like into bushes and just absolutely, code brown it, which happens if you're
Happens.
running enough, it happens. And I had like to then run 4 miles without any underwear and just like, the remnants of that. It sucked. It was 90 degrees, humid, awful, right? I got done and I'm like, I'm gonna do a heel click. And just the thought of the ridiculousness of like what I just went through, and then I'm just heel clicking. It was like it's just running. Like we can talk deep about it. It's awesome. It's fun to have that deep tie and those deep meanings and the lessons that it teaches us. It's running. And every run that I go on is a blessing, and I'm so grateful for it. And so the heel click to me is just like all of that summed up into one thing of like, it's just a silly little thing. But honestly, like it's funny because I didn't make the connection of like I started it after the blow up, and I think that was my way of reminding myself, hey, because so much of the lead up to the blow up, there's a lot of things that happened, but was me losing sight and getting overwhelmed in the details, and
Yeah.
that was the end result.
Yeah, no, I love that. And you make a good call out in terms of the scaling of these activities, right? What's so cool about running is it can be as deep as you want, or it can be as shallow as you need it to be, right? We don't do ourselves any good by always having something in one area. Like what's so valuable about the valuable and meaningful things in life is they scale. And this is why fun is just like the prime signal, because fun is at the same time a deep signal and a shallow signal. At the same time,
Yes.
because fun is just that's what I enjoy doing, and I don't need any justification beyond. I just enjoy doing it for it to be fun. But that in and of itself is this like deep signal into what I value, what I appreciate, what means the most to me, because I don't think about it. I just do it, right? I just do it. So fun is this very valuable component to fitness, because when I need it to be non-serious, it's there for me. And when I need to go into sort of like a deeper place, like fun is going to give me the courage, right? And the reward to go and to probe. If no one would ever go on a 20-mile training run if there was no fun involved and there wasn't some superficial enjoyment, because you need something to push you through the depths of all that. And when I think about your heel click, I think about the ways in which it reverberates in other people as well. People who are seriously training but need that reminder of, we do this for fun, we do this for camaraderie, and we do this for the enjoyment. And it's very illustrative that you had that realization of using fun as a course correction, right? Using fun as a as a course correction, because that's also what you seem to do when you got into the marathon running. It's like, I'm not finding the enjoyment. Like, I like powerlifting, but I'm not getting this ultimate satisfaction, which, fun could be, is just a signal. Like, I like seeing the numbers, I like grinding, but it's not fun. It's not fun going to the gym. It's not fun going to the meets. It's not fun. The pressure that I'm putting on myself to perform, that's not fun either. So fun is a course correction, I think, is very cool. And maybe that'll just lead us into our final little segment here, which I want to return to that idea of the fast marathon journey. You say has totally transformed your life. Now, when we're talking about like the ultimate depth of what sport can provide, a statement like that's pretty close to about as deep as you can get. So I'd love for you to just like spell out to people what that looks like, what that has been for you, where you are now, and how meaningful this whole journey has been in shaping you at a very transformative part of your life. You're like what, 26 now, mid 20s, right? 25, so you're still a nice young guy. 26 is when you start to get old. Actually, that's not true. You just never get old.
That's what I feel. Honestly, I turned 25 this year. I'm like, that's mid-20s. That feels old. In a good way.
24, technically 24 is mid-20s, so you're like really old. So don't worry about it. You're like a really old guy. You're a really old guy now.
I can rent a car now without paying an astronomical fee, so that's cool.
Oh, let's go. Whoop, whoop, whoop. Right? Like there's benefits. There's always benefits, but yeah, maybe just like let's finish off there, because
I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. So transforming my life, and it's the truth. And so I kind of break this down when, like, to start with the physical. So the physical is, it's like there's no way around it. When I was in my peak strength, I was not peak health. 1,000,000%. Like I was, I'm a 5'8". I like to say 5'9" on a good day. 5'8". When I was pushing 200 pounds, like I didn't get my blood work done, but I knew from how I felt it wasn't good. Like I was waking up with shoulder problems, back problems, and I'm 20 years old, 21, and you go through these strongmen. I'm like, I feel like that, and then I'm going for a mile run, and my back is locked up, my heel hurts, my hips hurt. I'm like, I don't feel like when I was in wrestling, I felt like an athlete. I felt good. I never felt that in strength. And so from a physical standpoint, and then also like the thing is, right, through those first 2 years of endurance, I mean, you probably remember this, I was 25 pounds heavier. I was much bigger of a human. I had a lot more mass. Yeah, it was muscle, but it was also fat, and it was just like, and this is where I kind of get into the I won't get into the nitty gritty, but I will say, like, mass is mass at some point. Being 200 pounds at a 5'8" build, like, you can say it's all muscle all you want. It's hard on your fucking body. Excuse my
Big
language,
time
but
on your joints.
it's tough. And so, as once I set the goal, I knew I was not going to be running it at 200 pounds. I knew how to lose some weight. I knew how to just get some stuff. And I also, like, through just lifting, had developed, gotten back into like some poor eating habits that I had developed when I was a wrestler, of just like binge eating. And like, honestly, it was amplified in endurance because I'm training for these Ironmans, and all of a sudden it was like justified to eat 5,000 calories again, and just pound, carbs all the time. And so, like, the first 2 years, I didn't lose weight in endurance. Like, I didn't. Like, I did my first Ironman and second Ironman above 195 pounds. I was pretty much closer to 200. And so, like, hey, like, I guess that's cool in itself. But like, I wasn't, at no point during that time was like, I did I feel that good. Like, my endurance was better, but my strength was still there. And like, I would finish a 10-mile. I just tweeted about this. I do a 10-mile run and my hips hurt for 3 days, and my central nervous system was wrecked. Now I can go and I run a 10-mile run on a Monday, and I'm ready to go. Like, I feel like it's nothing. I go through the rest of my day and I feel great. Anyway, I made this transition of like, all right, if I'm going to run sub 3, I need to lose some weight. I need to like start taking this a little bit seriously. It's a different level of commitment now. It's not just getting through. It's saying, hey, I need to become a better runner. In order to become a better runner, I need to lose some weight. So over about, I would say, a year, 8 months, maybe 10 months, I went from about 200 pounds to down to like my lightest, which was like 175, 174. Now I stay anywhere between 175 and 180. That's kind of like where I like to sit year round. I feel great on it. Through like, so that was the first massive transfer. Like, I feel the healthiest I've ever been. I can sit in a deep squat. I don't have joint pain when I run. I run 22 miles at a 7:03 pace or whatever was my last long run. I was out walking my dog 10 minutes afterwards. Like, I didn't have any pain. Like, sure, you're tired, sure, but like, what used to take me out for days now
Yeah.
was just, hey, you can go and do it. You can bounce back. So like, that was the first massive transformation, was like, all of a sudden I felt healthy, and I hadn't felt that for a while through my strength years. Um, and then into, I guess, more of the mental transformation, it unlocked a level of confidence in myself that, like, I always consider myself a very confident person, and I never really struggled with confidence. But at the same time, we all have our own insecurities. We all have, the things that we're battling, and there's always more confidence to be unlocked. And I think it can be different forms of confidence. It doesn't always look as like I can walk into a room, feel proud of who I am, but for me, it was this confidence in my own athletic ability, and like my ability to progress into something that I had really, for the longest time, told myself I couldn't do. From a very young age, I told myself I wasn't a runner, right? Like, I was a middle linebacker in football. I was a hard hitter. I was a wrestler, so I only ran when I needed to, and it was in sprints. I was the guy that was I could run fast for a short period of time. I ran a 5:40 mile in high school just because I was in wrestling shape and I didn't want to have to run more, so we had to run a fast mile. I could do that, but like this idea of running a marathon, like my mom ran the Chicago Marathon. Like I remember seeing her and being like, I'm never gonna do that. Like I'm never running a marathon. And so through this process, I have broken through a lifelong belief of that I'm not a runner. And that has then said, okay, hey, what other areas of my life have I told myself I can't do this, whether just like subconsciously or consciously, and said, no, you can. Like you just have to try. You just have to put like it doesn't mean it's not gonna be easy. Or it's gonna be hard. Like it's gonna be a fucking grind. It's gonna be a journey. It's gonna be, hey, you might think you can get it done in a year and a half. It's actually gonna take 2.5 years. Heck, it might take 3, 4. I don't know. But I know that if I commit to it and I work at it and I gain confidence in my ability to just put a goal out there and just work and show up and stay consistent and change a complete identity that I had built for myself. And so that was kind of like the mental change that I had. And then the like to wrap all this up, the spiritual emotional change, I guess that you could say I had was just this deeper level of appreciation for the human body and what it can do. And this understanding that it's amazing to go to take a human body that could once bench 405 pounds to then say, oh, now you're knocking on the door of a sub 3 hour marathon running 6:52 minute per mile. And, the emotional connections I've made through friends, like I have had, I mean, last year or this year, I ran a 70.3 with my mom. I shared a 70.3 course with my mom and my uncle and my friends, and it was this beautiful, like, oh my god, like I can like do these things. And what really was cool to wrap all of this up was like my own journey and me going after this has inspired other people in my life to go and do this. Now all of a sudden, because I made this change, I made this commitment, and it wouldn't have been possible without the sub 3 goal. I have friends hitting me up at a constant basis saying, hey, I think I want to do a half Ironman, or hey, I think I want to run my first half marathon. Hey, I want to run my first marathon. And like I can't begin to describe the joy it fills me to see people in my life say, I want to go after these big goals because we see Mike show up and go after his big goals. And so like that was like the last piece of it, I guess, that transformed in my life was just all of a sudden I became this guy that changed his physique, changed his fitness, and then that led other people to believe that they could do it themselves and then take on these big physical challenges. And that means everything. That means more than like if I never do sub 3, but I know that I got my mom to do a 70.3. She's going to do her first Ironman next year. I got a couple of my friends to sign up to do a 70.3. I've got friends that are saying, hey, I want to do my first half marathon. Fuck, man, I'll love the training and do that. And that's all I can ever ask.
Yeah. That's great. And you're on a time issue here,
And
so I won't elaborate too much on that because you said it perfectly. Other than to say, like, when I talk about transcendence through sport, that's exactly what I mean. There's body, there's mind, there's spirit, and they're all elevating. And the one thing that sticks out to me, maybe about fast running, is that fast running teaches you that you can bend time and space with your determination,
Mhm. Yeah.
right? That's what fast running does. Fast running makes things move in a way that like you don't experience the way that those things move. And I'm talking specifically about time and space. And you can see that on your Garmin and you can watch it. Especially when I'm trail running, I notice this the most because I'll notice the way like the sun flickers through the trees in that early morning. And when I'm going slow, it flickers one way. And when I'm going fast, it's like one of the most intense strobe effects I've ever experienced in my life. So fast running teaches you that you can bend space and time towards your determination with your willpower alone. And if you can do that, what the heck can't you do in this world, man? Like, and that's what's so beautiful about this and this journey. And thank you so much for coming on and exploring and being open to share what this has meant for you, how it's transformed you, and providing, I believe, a really impressive blueprint and roadmap for so many people to get into just something and to go at it hard and with their heart and with love and passion. And we are all cheering for you. We are with you. You and I are going to share some easy miles next week so we can really like get in the right space. But man, you are so primed to have just an amazing race no matter what the dang number is, because you're just a special guy, and this process has brought out what is unique and most special about you. And I'm just so honored to be a friend of yours and to be a witness to your greatness. So thank you so much for coming on and sharing with the beautiful
Thanks,
people.
I will end by saying a quote that I heard yesterday, and I saved it because I was like, I have to say this at one point on Jordan's podcast. Doing what you love will lead you where you need to go, even if you can't see it at the time.
Yeah. Act on faith. And where do we get the faith? From the center of our being, from our hearts. Yes. Let's go. Peace and love, everybody. We'll see you in the next one. Again, if you're interested at all in connecting with this beautiful human, check the show notes. I will link to him. We'll also have a link to me. I'm not as beautiful of a person as he is, but that's okay. You know, we all have things to aspire. We all have things to aspire towards, right? And things to grow towards. So thank you, everybody.
He's got all the hair. I got none of the hair. We're good.
You know, we have to harmonize each other out in some way or form. Like, you've got the aerodynamic portion. I have the Bushman appeal. So we're all good. All right. Peace and love, everybody. We'll have Mike back on for another conversation. He's going to smash this race. Everybody knows that. All right. Peace and love. Okay. You just